Lieutenant Carl Adams crept through the dark corridors of the abandoned Vorthak research station. His team of 6 soldiers moved silently behind him, their weapons ready for any threat. The station orbited a dead moon in an empty star system, far from any inhabited worlds. Intelligence reports had suggested this facility was important to the Vorthak Empire. Now, after 3 months of planning, Carl's team had finally managed to infiltrate the station while its defenders were away on hunting missions. "Motion sensors show the station is empty," whispered Sergeant Linda Parker, checking her scanner. "But there are active computer systems in the central section." Carl nodded and led his team deeper into the facility. The walls were covered with the same black material as Vorthak ships, and the air carried a strange metallic smell. Everything about the place felt alien and threatening. They found the central computer chamber after 20 minutes of searching. The room was filled with strange machines that hummed with energy. Holographic displays showed star maps and data streams in the Vorthak language. "Can you access their files?" Carl asked his team's computer specialist, Frank Lopez. Frank connected his portable translation device to the Vorthak computer system. The device had been built using technology captured from destroyed alien ships. It could translate most Vorthak text, though some technical terms remained unclear. "I am getting something," Frank said after several minutes of work. "These files contain historical records going back thousands of years. This appears to be a complete archive of Vorthak expansion." Carl felt excitement building in his chest. This could be the intelligence breakthrough they needed to understand their enemy. "Download everything you can. We do not have much time before they return." As Frank worked to copy the files, Carl explored the rest of the chamber. He found physical records stored in crystalline structures that glowed with internal light. The crystals were covered with symbols that hurt his eyes to look at directly. "Sir, you need to see this," Frank called out. His voice sounded strange, almost frightened. Carl hurried over to the computer terminal where Frank was working. The screen showed a list of species names and dates. There were 43 entries, each marked with a symbol that the translator identified as extinct. "These are all the species the Vorthak have hunted," Frank explained. "Every single one was completely wiped out. No survivors, no remnants, nothing left but records." Carl studied the list with growing horror. Entire civilizations had been erased from existence. Billions of lives snuffed out because the Vorthak needed something to hunt. "There is more," Frank continued. "These files contain biological data on each species. The Vorthak study their prey very carefully before they begin hunting. They learn about weaknesses, social structures, military capabilities. What do they say about humans?" Frank accessed another file and his face went pale. "According to this, we are prey species number 44. They have been studying us since first contact. They know about our military structure, our technology levels, our population centers." Carl felt a chill run down his spine. The Vorthak had been planning their attack on humanity for months, maybe years. Every move humans made had been watched and analyzed. "Keep downloading," he ordered. "We need to get this information back to Earth Command." Meanwhile, Dr. Lisa Chen was working in her laboratory aboard the research vessel Discovery. She had been studying captured Vorthak technology and biological samples for weeks, trying to understand how their enemy had become such perfect predators. Her research partner, Dr. Alan Hayes, brought her a new sample taken from a destroyed Vorthak ship. "This is interesting," he said, placing a container on her workbench. "The biological material shows signs of genetic modification." Lisa examined the sample under her microscope. The cellular structure was unlike anything she had seen before. The DNA was too perfect, too organized. Natural evolution produced random variations and imperfections. This genetic code looked like it had been designed. "How extensive are the modifications?" she asked. "From what I can tell, the entire Vorthak genome has been rewritten, enhanced, Muscle density, improved reflexes, modified sensory organs, strengthened bone structure. Someone turned them into living weapons. Lisa sat back in her chair, thinking about the implications. If they were modified, then they were not always apex predators. Someone made them this way. The question is who, Alan replied. And why? The answer came when Carl Adams returned from his mission to the research station. The files his team had stolen contained information that changed everything humans thought they knew about the Vorthak Empire. Dr. Chen and her team worked around the clock to translate and analyze the captured data. What they found shocked them to their core. The Vorthak had not evolved naturally as apex predators. They had been created by an ancient species called the Architects. According to these records, Dr. Chen explained to Admiral Wright and the Defense Council, the Architects were a highly advanced civilization that existed over 10,000 years ago. They created the Vorthak as biological weapons to protect their empire from other species. What happened to these Architects? Asked General Foster. The Vorthak killed them, Dr. Chen replied. The genetic programming that made them perfect. Hunters also made them compulsively aggressive toward any species that showed rapid technological development. When the Architects reached a certain level of advancement, their own weapons turned against them. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Vorthak were not evil by choice. They were programmed to hunt and kill, unable to change their nature because of genetic locks built into their DNA. There is more, Dr. Chen continued. The genetic programming prevents the Vorthak from adapting beyond their current form. They cannot evolve or change like natural species. They are powerful, but they are also limited. Admiral Wright leaned forward in his chair. What does this mean for our war against them? It means they have a weakness, Dr. Chen said. They cannot adapt to new situations the way humans can. Their responses are programmed and predictable. If we can understand their programming, we might be able to defeat them. On the Vorthak flagship, young sub-hunter Ketharn stood before his pack leader with his head bowed in shame. His hunting mission to the human colony of New Boston had been a complete failure. 3 of his pack members were dead, and the humans had escaped. Explain your failure, demanded pack leader Morthek. The humans did not behave like proper prey, Ketharn replied. They set traps for us. They used weapons we did not expect. When we cornered them, they fought instead of running. Morthek's claws extended in anger. All prey runs when faced with superior predators. It is the natural order. But these humans do not follow the natural order, Ketharn said quietly. They fight like predators, not like prey. For the first time in his young life, Ketharn began to question the teachings of his elders. If humans were prey, why did they act like hunters? If the Vorthak were apex predators, why were they losing so many battles? These questions would have been considered heresy by older Vorthak, but Ketharn could not stop thinking about them. Something was wrong with the way his people understood the universe. Back on Earth, Dr. Chen made another breakthrough. Hidden deep in the Architect files was information about the genetic locks that controlled Vorthak behavior. The same technology that made them perfect hunters also made them vulnerable to specific frequencies of electromagnetic radiation. If we can broadcast the right signal, she explained to her team, we might be able to disrupt their genetic programming. We might be able to free them from their compulsion to hunt. The war was about to take a dramatic new direction. Humanity had discovered that their greatest enemy was also a victim, trapped by programming they could not escape. The question now was whether humans would choose revenge or redemption. High Hunter Zarthek stood before the assembled pack leaders in the great chamber of his flagship. The room was dark except for the cold blue light that illuminated the star maps covering the walls. 50 of the most experienced Vorthak hunters listened as their leader spoke. The Vorthak Empire declares humanity a worthy prey species, Zarthek announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. For too long, we have hunted weak creatures that offered no challenge. These humans have shown they will fight. They have shown they will die rather than surrender. This makes them valuable prey. The pack leaders clicked their mandibles in approval. It had been many years since they had found a species that provided real entertainment. Most civilizations either fled to the far edges of the galaxy or simply gave up when the Vorthak arrived. 50 hunting fleets will spread across human space, Zarthek continued. Each pack leader will choose their own targets. Hunt them in, their homes and their ships on their worlds. Show them what it means to be prey. The great hunt begins now. The pack leaders dispersed to their ships, eager to begin the campaign. Across the galaxy, other species watched and waited. Many had hoped the humans might be different, might be able to stand against the Vorthak where others had failed. But hope was a dangerous thing when dealing with the apex predators of the galaxy. Commander Tony Blake received the warning just hours before the first Vorthak attack ships entered the Alpha Centauri system. His small patrol squadron was no match for a full hunting pack, but Tony had not survived 15 years in space by fighting fair battles. All ships, break formation and scatter, he ordered over the communication channel. Use hit-and-run tactics. Do not engage in direct combat. The Vorthak ships were faster and more powerful, but they expected their prey to either run away or fight a conventional battle. Tony's ships did neither. They struck quickly at the edge of weapon range, fired their missiles, and then disappeared into the asteroid field that surrounded the system. Pack leader Vorthek commanded the Vorthak hunting ships. He had destroyed dozens of species over his long career, and he expected the humans to follow the same pattern. They would panic, make mistakes, and then die screaming as all prey should. But these humans were different. They refused to engage in proper combat. They hid among the asteroids like scavengers and struck when his ships were not expecting attack. It was not honorable hunting behavior. Find them, Vorthek ordered his subordinates. Use the sensor nets. They cannot hide forever. But the humans seemed to know exactly how Vorthak sensors worked. They used the metal in the asteroids to hide their ships and moved in patterns that confused the tracking systems. When Vorthek's ships entered the asteroid field to search for them, the humans turned the space rocks into weapons. Tony Blake watched from his hiding spot as 2 Vorthak ships passed near a large asteroid. His engineer had spent hours placing explosive charges throughout the rock. When he triggered the detonation, the asteroid shattered into thousands of pieces that struck the alien ships like a shotgun blast. One Vorthak ship lost its main engines and began to drift. The other was damaged but still functional. Tony smiled grimly. It was not a fair fight, but it was an effective one. The news of Tony's success spread quickly through human space. Other commanders began using similar tactics. The Vorthak found themselves fighting an enemy that refused to follow the rules of proper hunting. On the colony world of New Geneva, the Vorthak hunting pack expected to find easy prey. The planet was home to mostly farmers and their families, people who had left Earth to build simple lives growing food for the outer colonies. Teacher Ellen Davis was leading her class of 30 children on a nature walk when the Vorthak ships landed. She saw the black forms moving through the forest and knew immediately that these were the aliens everyone had been talking about. The creatures moved like predators, and their yellow eyes scanned the area for victims. Ellen gathered the children clothes and whispered instructions. They were far from the main settlement, but they were not helpless. The school had a small laboratory where Ellen taught basic chemistry and biology. If she could get the children there safely, she might be able to protect them. The group moved quietly through the forest, staying hidden behind trees and rocks. Ellen could hear the Vorthak hunters calling to each other in their strange language. They were searching for human prey, but they did not expect to find anyone fighting back. At the school laboratory, Ellen worked quickly with her students. She had them gather all the chemicals and equipment they could find: cleaning supplies, laboratory acids, fertilizer from the greenhouse, anything that could be dangerous if mixed properly. "What are we making, Miss Davis?" asked 10-year-old Bobby Chen. "We are making surprises for the monsters," Ellen replied, her voice calm despite the fear she felt inside. The Vorthak hunters found the school an hour later. They expected to find cowering humans, easy prey for their claws and weapons. Instead, they found carefully placed traps made from school chemistry equipment. When the first hunter stepped through the door, his foot triggered a pressure plate that Ellen had rigged using a scale from the physics classroom. The device released a cloud of chlorine gas mixed with other chemicals that burned the alien's sensitive respiratory system. The Vorthak stumbled backward, clawing at his throat. Behind him, his packmates tried to enter the building, but Ellen had prepared more surprises. Acid splashed from containers hidden in the ceiling. Explosive devices made from fertilizer and cleaning supplies detonated in sequence. 3 of the 6 Vorthak hunters were killed or badly injured before they could retreat from the school. The survivors reported back to their pack leader that even human children were dangerous. Dr. Lisa Chen received reports from across human space about the Vorthak attacks. The pattern was always the same. The aliens expected easy prey and found determined resistance instead. Human civilians were fighting back with whatever tools they could find. Farmer Bill Thompson had turned his agricultural equipment into weapons, using pesticide sprayers to deliver acid attacks and modified harvesting machines to create deadly traps. Factory workers had converted industrial equipment into improvised artillery. Even children were finding ways to fight. "They do not understand us," Lisa told Admiral Wright during their daily briefing. "The Vorthak see us as just another prey species, but we are not behaving like their previous victims." Admiral Wright studied the battle reports on his desk. Human casualties were heavy, but the Vorthak were also taking losses. More importantly, the alien hunters seemed confused by human tactics. "What makes us different?" he asked. Lisa had been thinking about that question for weeks. Every other species the Vorthak have encountered developed naturally as either predators or prey. They have instincts that tell them how to behave when threatened. But humans evolved as both hunters and hunted. We know how to be prey, but we also know how to fight back. On his flagship, High Hunter Zarthek received reports from pack leaders across human space. The hunting was not going according to plan. Human resistance was stronger than expected, and some hunting packs were reporting significant casualties. For the first time in his long career, Zarthek began to question whether the hunt would be successful. These humans were proving to be unlike any prey species the Vorthak had encountered before. Perhaps, he thought to himself, we have finally found prey that might actually be predators. The great hunt continued, but the hunters were beginning to learn that their prey had teeth. The big meeting room on the space station was full of strange sounds. Aliens from all over the galaxy sat in their special chairs, talking in languages that sounded like music, growls, and clicking noises. The air smelled different too, like metal and something sweet that humans could not name. Captain Jake Morrison stood at the front of the room. His blue uniform was clean and pressed, but he felt nervous inside. Today, Earth would show its first real warship to the Galactic Council. Today, they would ask to join the big space fleets that protected everyone. Jake had been a ship captain for 20 years. He had fought space pirates near Jupiter and helped save people from broken space stations. But this was different. This room held the most powerful beings in the galaxy, and they were all looking at him like he was just a kid with a toy. The hologram machine made a soft buzz. A picture of Earth's new warship appeared in the air above Jake's head. The ship looked simple and clean. It was long and smooth, painted white and blue like an Earth sky. The name, USS Liberty, was written on the side in big letters. Admiral Krixtal from the planet Zephyr made a harsh, laughing sound. He looked like a big bird with sharp teeth and golden feathers. His long neck bent down as he pointed one claw at the ship picture. "This is what humans call a warship?" Krixtal's voice was like rocks falling down a hill. "It looks like a truck that carries boxes, not a fighting ship." More laughter came from around the room. The alien from Corva moved his tentacles in a way that meant he thought something was very funny. His skin was purple and wet, and he had too many eyes. "Look how small it is. My people build ships 10 times bigger than this little thing." Jake felt his face get hot, but he kept standing straight. Next to him, Commander Lisa Harper stepped forward. She was the smartest engineer on Earth, and she had helped build the Liberty. Her short brown hair was neat, and her green eyes were calm, even though the aliens were being mean. "The Liberty uses a new way of fighting," Lisa said. Her voice was clear and strong. "We focused on making it work better, not just making it bigger." "Work better?" The creature from Altair made sounds like a bell ringing. It looked like it was made of living crystal, and light moved through its body when it talked. "Your people have only been in space for 200 years. We have been building warships for thousands of years. Maybe you should watch and learn before you try to make your own." Jake looked around the room. Every alien species had brought pictures of their own ships. The Zephyrian ships looked like giant metal birds with wings covered in guns. The Corvin vessels were round and fat, with long arms that could grab other ships. The Altaran craft were beautiful and sharp, made of some kind of metal that looked like glass. All of these ships were huge. Some were as big as cities. They had massive guns that could blow up moons. Their shields could stop anything that hit them. Compared to these monsters, the Liberty looked like a toy boat. A new alien spoke up from the back of the room. This one was from Centauri, and it looked almost human except for its silver skin and black eyes. Perhaps the humans do not understand what real space war is like. The ships we build must fight the hegemony. The hegemony has machines that can destroy entire planets. They have fleets with millions of ships. The room got quiet when the Centauri mentioned the hegemony. Jake had heard stories about them. They were robots and machines that took over other planets. They turned living people into more machines. Every species in the galaxy was afraid of them. "The hegemony is coming," the Centauri continued. "Their scouts have been seen in the outer systems. When they arrive, we will need every strong ship we can get. We cannot waste time with toys." Admiral Crickstal stood up. He was very tall, almost 8 feet, and his golden feathers made him look like a king. "I agree. Humans should stick to what they do well. Make supply ships, make hospital ships, make ships that carry messages. Leave the fighting to those who know how to do it." Lisa tried to speak again. "If you would just look at our design plans, you would see that the Liberty has features that features?" The Corvin delegate's tentacles waved fast, which meant he was getting angry. "Young species always think they have found something new. But there are only so many ways to put guns on a ship. There are only so many ways to make shields strong. We have tried everything over thousands of years." Jake felt his hands make fists, but he kept them at his sides. He wanted to tell these aliens that humans were not stupid. He wanted to show them that Earth scientists were just as smart as anyone in the galaxy. But he knew that getting angry would make things worse. The vote happened quickly. The council members pressed buttons on their chairs. Red lights meant no. Green lights meant yes. Jake watched as red light after red light appeared on the big board. Final vote: 47 red, 3 green. The Liberty was rejected. "The human warship design does not meet galactic defense standards," announced the council speaker. "It was a robot that looked like a metal tree with many arms. Humanity may reapply in 5 years with a new design." As the meeting ended, Jake heard the aliens talking to each other. They thought humans were being silly. They thought Earth was trying to do something it was not ready for. Some of them even laughed about how cute it was that humans thought they could build real warships. "Do not feel bad," said Admiral Crickstal as he walked past Jake. "Every young species makes this mistake. You will learn." Jake and Lisa walked out of the meeting room together. The long white hallway seemed to go on forever. Other humans who worked on the space station looked at them with sad faces. Everyone had hoped today would be different. "They did not even look at the real plans," Lisa said quietly. They do not know what the Liberty can really do. Jake nodded. Maybe that is for the best. Lisa looked at him with surprise. What do you mean? Jake stopped walking and looked out a big window. Far below he could see Earth, blue and white and beautiful. Maybe it is better if they think we are weak. Maybe it is better if they do not know what we can really build. Lisa smiled for the first time that day. You think we will get a chance to show them? The hegemony is coming, Jake said. And when they do, everyone will need help, even from a weak little ship like the Liberty. But Jake knew something the aliens did not. The Liberty was not weak at all. It was the most dangerous ship ever built by anyone, anywhere. The aliens just did not know how to see it yet. Captain Steve Parker was having a good day until the alien ships appeared. The merchant vessel New Horizons was carrying medical supplies to the outer colonies when the sensors detected 6 unknown ships approaching fast. Steve had been running cargo between Earth and the frontier worlds for 15 years, and he had never seen anything like these vessels. The ships were black and angular, shaped like hunting spears. They moved with a grace that seemed impossible for something made of metal. Steve watched them close in on his position near the Tau Ceti system and felt his mouth go dry. Captain, they are not responding to our communication attempts, reported his first officer, Dan Murphy. They are not using any known identification codes. Steve looked at his crew of 12. They were good people, mostly civilians who had signed on to see the galaxy and make some money. None of them were soldiers. The New Horizons carried only basic defensive weapons, nothing that could fight off 6 warships. Send a general distress signal, Steve ordered. Tell anyone listening that we are under attack by unknown vessels. The alien ships moved into attack formation around the New Horizons. Steve could see weapon ports opening along their hulls like hungry mouths. Then a new signal came through the communication system. It was not in any human language, but somehow Steve understood it perfectly. Human vessel, you are now prey. Prepare to be hunted. The voice was cold and emotionless, like the sound of breaking glass. Steve felt fear crawl up his spine, but he also felt something else. Anger. These aliens thought they could just attack innocent people and take whatever they wanted. This is Captain Steve Parker of the merchant vessel New Horizons, he broadcast. Back. We are on a peaceful mission carrying medical supplies. We have done nothing to threaten you. The response came quickly. You are human. That is threat enough. Your species will learn to fear the Vorthak. The first alien ship opened fire. Energy beams lanced out and struck the New Horizons, making the hull ring like a bell. The lights flickered and sparks flew from damaged control panels. Steve gripped his command chair as the ship shook under the attack. Damage report, he called. Out. Hull breach on deck 3, shouted engineer Amy Rodriguez from her position at the engine controls. But I can seal it. Main power is holding. More energy beams struck the ship. The aliens were not trying to destroy them quickly. They were playing with their prey like cats with a mouse. Steve realized these creatures enjoyed causing fear and pain. Amy, can you give me more speed? He asked. I can try, but these ships are faster than us. We cannot outrun them. Steve looked at his crew. They were scared, but they were not giving up. Dan Murphy was working the weapons controls, trying to target the alien ships. Communications officer Janet Lee was sending continuous distress signals. Medical officer Carl Adams was helping repair damaged systems. We may not be able to outrun them, Steve said, but we can make them pay for this attack. The New Horizons was not a warship, but it had some advantages the aliens did not expect. Steve had been modifying his ship for years, adding hidden weapon, systems and defensive measures. Pirates were common in the outer systems, and smart captains learned to protect themselves. Dan, target their lead ship. Use the plasma torpedoes. Sir, we only have 4 torpedoes. They have 6 ships. Then we better make them count. The first torpedo struck the lead alien ship in the engine section. The explosion tore a hole in the black hull, and the ship began to drift. The aliens had not expected the humans to fight back with such force. Steve felt a moment of satisfaction, but it did not last long. The other alien ships increased their attack, pouring fire into the new horizons. The hull began to buckle under the punishment. "Captain, we cannot take much more of this," Amy called from the engine room. "The main reactor is overloading." Steve made a decision that would save his crew and shock the alien attackers. "Amy, how big an explosion would we get if the reactor went critical?" There was silence on the communication channel for a moment. Then Amy's voice came back, steady and determined. "Big enough to take out anything within 5 miles, sir. Can you rig it to blow on command?" "Give me 2 minutes." Steve turned to his crew. "Everyone to the escape pods. We are abandoning ship." "Captain, what about you?" Dan asked. "Someone has to stay and make sure this works. Get everyone to the pods." "That is an order." The crew moved quickly to the escape pods. They had trained for this situation, but they never thought they would actually need to use the training. As they strapped themselves in, Steve stayed on the bridge, watching the alien ships close in for the final attack. "Amy, are you ready?" He called over the communication system. "Reactor is rigged to blow, Captain. The timer is set for 30 seconds. You better get to a pod." "Launch the pods now," Steve ordered. 12 escape pods shot away from the new horizons like bullets from a gun. The alien ships ignored them, focusing on the main vessel. Steve could see their weapons charging for the killing blow. "Timer is at 10 seconds, Captain." Amy's voice came from her pod. "Get out of there." Steve looked at the alien ships one more time. "See you in hell," he said, and pressed the detonation button. The explosion lit up space like a small sun. The reactor's antimatter containment failed all at once, releasing energy equivalent to a nuclear weapon. 2 alien ships were caught in the blast and destroyed instantly. A third ship was badly damaged and began leaking atmosphere. The remaining 3 alien ships stopped their attack and moved away from the expanding cloud of debris. In their command centers, Vorthak hunters stared at their screens in shock. Prey did not behave this way. Prey ran and hid and begged for mercy. Prey did not fight back with such determination. The escape pods were picked up 3 hours later by the Earth Defense Fleet cruiser Guardian. Captain Roy Sullivan listened to Steve Parker's report with growing concern. This was the first confirmed contact with hostile aliens, and the implications were terrifying. News of the attack spread quickly through human space. On Earth, Admiral Ben Wright called an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. General Kate Foster reviewed the combat reports and shook her head. "These aliens are not pirates or raiders," she said. "This was a military operation. They specifically targeted humans and called us prey. We are dealing with a predator species." Dr. Lisa Chen studied the sensor data from the New Horizons. The alien ships used technology beyond anything humans had developed. Their weapons were more powerful, their ships were faster, and their tactics suggested they were experienced hunters. "We need to prepare for more attacks," she told the council. "If they see us as prey, they will keep coming." On his flagship, High Hunter Zarthek received reports from the hunting pack that had attacked the human vessel. 2 ships destroyed, 1 damaged, and the prey had fought back with unexpected ferocity. The humans had actually chosen death over capture. For the first time in 3,000 years, Zarthek felt something he had almost forgotten: uncertainty. These humans were different from other prey species. They did not behave according to the normal patterns. "Summon the pack leaders," he ordered. "We need to study these humans more carefully. They may prove more interesting than we first thought." The war between humanity and the Vorthak Empire had begun with a merchant ship and 12 brave souls who refused to surrender. Neither side knew it yet, but this first battle would change the galaxy forever. Captain Yoxery stared at the human ship on his view screen and made a decision that would change his life forever. His pride as a hegemony officer demanded that he fight. His survival instincts told him to run. After watching what happened to Admiral Vextar's flagship, his survival instincts were winning. "Weapons officer," he said quietly, "power down all weapon systems." "Sir?" The weapons officer looked confused. "Are we surrendering?" "No," Captain Yoxri replied. "We are learning. There is a difference." On the third ship, Commander Nixara was coming to the same conclusion. He had seen enough battles to know when he was beaten. The smart thing to do was accept defeat gracefully and live to fight another day. "All ships, this is Commander Nixara," he broadcast to the remaining hegemony. "Vessels, I am ordering a full stand down. Power down all weapons and prepare to withdraw from this sector." But not everyone was ready to accept defeat. From the disabled flagship, Admiral Vextar's voice crackled over the emergency communication system. "Negative. I am still in command of this fleet. We do not retreat from a single enemy ship, no matter how advanced their technology." Captain Morrison listened to the argument between the alien commanders with growing concern. He had hoped that his demonstration would convince them to leave peacefully. Instead, it seemed like the hegemony leaders were arguing among themselves about whether to continue fighting. "Nemesis," he said quietly, "what are the aliens doing?" "Captain, I am monitoring their communications," the AI replied. "Admiral Vexatar is ordering the remaining ships to attack us. The other two commanders are refusing his orders. There appears to be a disagreement about command authority." Morrison frowned. A military force arguing with itself was dangerous for everyone involved. Desperate people made poor decisions, and poor decisions led to unnecessary deaths. "Open a channel to all three ships," Morrison ordered. "Channel open, Captain." "Attention, Hegemony Fleet. This is Captain Morrison. I can hear your discussion, and I want to offer you a solution that allows everyone to go home safely today." Admiral Vextar's angry voice cut across the communication. "We do not need solutions from humans. We need vengeance for the humiliation you have caused us." "Admiral," Morrison replied patiently, "vengeance is expensive. It costs ships, crews, and lives. Are you willing to pay that price for your pride?" "The hegemony does not show weakness to inferior species," Admiral Vextar declared. Captain Morrison sighed. He had really hoped to avoid what was about to happen next. "Admiral, you are making a serious mistake. You are confusing strength with stupidity. A strong leader knows when to fight and when to negotiate. A stupid leader fights battles that cannot be won." "Enough talk," Admiral Vextar shouted. "Captain Yoxri, Commander Nixara, I order you to attack the human ship immediately. Use ramming speed if necessary. Destroy that vessel at any cost." There was a long pause before Captain Yoxri responded. "Admiral, with respect, I cannot follow that order." "My ship and crew are not going to commit suicide for your pride," Commander Nixara agreed. "Admiral Vextar, you are asking us to throw away our lives for nothing. The human ship has shown us mercy so far. If we attack them again, they might not be so generous." Admiral Vextar's voice became cold and threatening. "Are you refusing a direct order from your superior officer?" "Yes, sir," both captains replied at the same time. Morrison realized that the situation was getting out of control. The alien fleet was falling apart, and desperate enemies were the most dangerous kind. "Nemesis," he said quietly, "I think it's time to end this conversation permanently. Can you restore power to Admiral Vextar's ship?" "Yes, Captain. However, I recommend keeping their weapon systems disabled. Admiral Vextar appears to be emotionally unstable and might attempt a suicide attack." "Agreed. Restore their engines and life support, but keep their weapons offline." "And Nemesis?" "Yes, Captain. Make sure they understand that we could have destroyed them at any time but chose not to." "Understood, Captain. Initiating power restoration with selective systems activation." On the Hegemony flagship, lights began flickering back to life. The main engines hummed back to power, and full life support was restored. But when Admiral Vexatar tried to activate his weapons, nothing happened. "Engineering," he called down to his repair teams. "Why are the weapons still offline?" The chief engineer's voice came back immediately. "Admiral, the weapons are not broken. They have been deliberately disconnected at the quantum level. The human ship is controlling what systems we can and cannot use." Admiral Vextar felt his anger being replaced by something much worse: fear. The humans were not just more advanced than the hegemony, they were so far ahead that they could control hegemony ships from a distance. Captain Morrison's voice filled the bridges of all three alien ships. "Admiral Vextar, your ship is now fully operational except for weapons. You can leave this sector immediately, or you can stay here and continue this discussion. The choice is yours." Admiral Vextar looked around his bridge at his crew. They were all staring at him, waiting for his decision. For the first time in his military career, he was completely out of options. "Captain Morrison," he said slowly, "what are your terms?" "No terms, Admiral. No surrender required. You came here to test humanity's defenses, and now you have your answer. Take that information back to your leaders and let them decide how the hegemony wants to proceed." Morrison paused to let his words sink in. "But Admiral, I want you to deliver a message for me. Tell your leaders that humanity did not come to the stars to conquer anyone. We came to explore, to learn, and to find our place among the civilized worlds. But we also came prepared to defend ourselves." "What about our ships?" Captain Yoxry asked. "Will you allow us to return home?" "Of course," Morrison replied. "Your flagship will need repairs, but it can make the journey. Your other two ships are fully functional. You are free to leave whenever you choose." Commander Nixara spoke up. "Captain Morrison, I must ask, how many ships like the Liberty does humanity really have?" Morrison smiled. "Commander, that question has been asked several times today. The answer is still classified, but I will tell you this. The Liberty is just one ship in the human fleet. There are others. Some are smaller, some are larger. All of them are designed to protect human interests in space." This was still mostly a lie, but it was a necessary one. "Admiral Vextar," Morrison continued, "when you report this encounter, to your superiors please include this message. Humanity prefers peace to war, but we are prepared for both. Future meetings between our species should be conducted through proper diplomatic channels, not military ones." Admiral Vextar nodded slowly. "Your message will be delivered, Captain Morrison." "Then this conversation is over," Morrison declared. "Have a safe journey home, gentlemen." One by one, the three hegemony ships began moving away from the Liberty. The flagship moved slowly, still damaged but functional. The other two ships escorted it carefully, making sure it could complete the journey home. As the alien fleet disappeared into hyperspace, Lieutenant Danny Rodriguez turned to his captain. "Sir, do you think they'll be back?" Morrison settled into his command chair and watched the stars. "Not anytime soon, Danny. Word will spread about what happened here today. Other species will think twice before testing us." "And if they do come back?" Danny asked. Morrison smiled. "By then, the Liberty won't be alone out here." From the ship's speakers, Nemesis added quietly, "I look forward to meeting my sister ships, Captain." And in the depths of space, the Liberty continued her patrol, guardian of a species that had just announced to the galaxy that humanity was here to stay.